My live stream. So I normally do these on Mondays, on Fridays, but I am doing it today on Monday because I'm going to be going to New York next week. So I'm not going to be doing the trading room next Friday. And also because there's a crazy ice storm. So we just swap sessions a little bit here. But this is my live stream of the Simpler Trading Master in the Trade Room. I'm going to go ahead and drop the link in the chat. But basically, you can find me in the Master in the Trade Room throughout the week. And then I also do these live streams once a week. So if you want to learn about my tools in the trading room, you can click on the link in the chat. Other than that, I'm going to go ahead and get the audio and video going in the trading room. And we're going to see what we can find. Hey, this is Danielle. How's everyone doing today? Can you hear me and see my screens? Thank you. Good afternoon. Welcome to Monday. So Monday's a big research day for me. Typically, I spend this time coming up with my watch list, seeing what kind of setups I have throughout the week. This week in particular is going to be a big earnings week. So I have an earnings watch list for you guys that I've been working on this morning. So I'm definitely going to share that with you guys. Let me see where I put it. Just finishing it up. And then definitely let me know if you have any requests also. All right, looks like we have some questions here. We have Oracle. All right, let's see what else we have. Watching paint dry, Amazon, AAL earnings played. I did wonder about your iron trade. There was unusual options activity today for the 717 strike. Thoughts on AGYS into earnings, Nebus. Okay, let me write these down. AGYS. Yeah, I definitely want to look at NBIS. I want to look at iron again. I think today overall things are just a little bit quiet because of all of these earnings reports that are coming up. So this is the watch list I just finished making. Let me just go ahead and make this a little bit bigger for you so you can see this a little bit better. So tomorrow we are going to have before the market open, BMO is just before the market open. Boeing, GM, NOC, UNH, UPS, RTX, AAL, SYF, and then after the close, we have FFIV, LOGI, QRVO, TXN, STX. But Wednesday's really where it gets exciting because we're going to have ASML, Starbucks, PGR, GD. None of these are too exciting for me, but this is when things are going to get crazy. So we have LRCX, Microsoft, Meta, Now, Tesla, all in the same day. That's going to be a little bit insane. There are a couple of these others that, maybe I'll sell premium on or something like that. Thursday, before the market open, we have Caterpillar, Lockheed Martin, MasterCard, RCL, TSCO, the NASDAQ, FLWS, SHW, And then after the market close, we have Apple, DEC, KLAC, SNDK, VWDC. So as you can see here, some of these really volatile names are going to be reporting combined with the Mag 7 names. So I'm definitely anticipating a high amount of volatility this week. What I do to make these earnings watch lists is I basically use a combination of scanners, and then also I use earnings whispers too. And I basically just narrow down all of the tickers to tickers that trade actively in the options market that are going to have enough volume that we can actually trade them, whether through selling premium or sometimes I'll buy butterflies or calls, but mainly through selling premium. So this is basically the earnings options watch list. So I definitely want to go over this. I'm going to start off and I'm just going to take some of your questions first before I get into everything that I was going to go over. But let's just go ahead and start with Oracle. So Oracle was way too much. All that and the Fed. Oh yeah, and the Fed. Um so with Oracle, this was a short that I had done in the trading room, and then also I use this one on Charles Payne too. So basically what I do is I just, I spend like a couple hours doing all of my research, and then I just, send over my favorites whenever I get a request from the media. And then I trade my favorites in the trading room. And obviously, I can't trade every single one. So I also just post ideas. But with Oracle, this was one that I had already taken profits on. I actually took profits on it when it was trading at 180, which was, $10 before it fell another $10 down into 170. So that was a really good trade for me. And I didn't even capture the entire move. So I did get out of this, what was like 4 bars ago. So if you're still in it at this point, it's pretty close to where I actually got out of it. Um, but at this point, you can see that the move has already been completed. Basically, it came up into the 50 simple, it hit, it fell, it broke through the low. The reason why I took the profits on it right at that day was because you just never know if the low is going to break or not. I mean, it was sitting right there at support. It was a good trade. It was a really quick trade, made good money. And I was sitting there and I was looking at it and I was like, oh man, maybe tomorrow it's just going to break down and continue dying. But on this day, it was down 6%. So I wanted to just take the money and run. And then, the next day it was down like another 5%. Um, but essentially with this setup, it's already made the target. The target was down at 168. It came shy of it. We had a wick at the bottom of the candle. Then you had an inside range candle, then another inside range candle. So for me, that was the spot to definitely take profits. And at this point, it's bouncing back up to the mean. So there might be another short opportunity up at 190 maybe. But right now, for me, that setup has been completed. I actually think that I should take a screenshot of this one because this is a really good one. Okay, so that one's over. NBIS, IREN. So I'll tell you guys that a lot of these really aggressive setups. I mean, I only have like 2 trades on right now. My IBIT trade that is not working out. I was hoping that one was going to start coming back, but that one is not really doing too much for me in this very moment. But we can go ahead and look at that one. But the thing is once you get into the week of FANG earnings, you don't want to have a ton of other trades on because the market is usually crazy. So I typically try to focus on Magnificent Seven earnings that week. And I usually don't have very many other swing trades on because I mean, you can just have major, major moves. And it's like one day everything's up huge, and the next day everything's down huge. And so I kind of prefer to just trade earnings this week and then get back to swing trades after that. So with NBIS, this is one that has earnings coming up on the 26th of February. We are almost in the time frame where we can look for that run into earnings on this stock. If you look at this grid, you can see that the pre-earnings 21-day average is 25%. So that is huge. That time frame is starting on the 27th tomorrow. So this is definitely one that I want to buy before earnings. Again, like I mentioned, this is a very volatile week, so I'm not And Monday, I don't usually enter a ton of trades. It's usually my day where I do all of my research. But as far as this one's concerned, yeah, I wanna buy it. I wanna buy the stock, and I'll probably buy the options in this series right here in the 26 because that way you can capitalize on the directional move, plus the increase in implied volatility going into that earnings series. And if you look at this on a weekly chart pattern, one of the main reasons why I want to buy it is because of the weekly chart pattern. So you can see that it's pulled back, it's consolidating, it shifted higher. So, you have like a little bit of a cup and handle here. But the main thing that you have is a weekly squeeze. So for my long term stock accounts, this is the primary buy signal that I use. The weekly squeeze with a bullish trend. Typically, I also want to see, the stock rallying before and after earnings, which we already established that is a pattern with this company. Um, so this all looks great. I think I'm just gonna buy some long-term shares in it, and then I'm not gonna buy the options just yet because you're sitting right here on the 50 simple, and you do have some volume that's breaking down. You can see the volume's breaking lower. And the thing is that if this stock breaks the 50 simple, it'll probably flush down into like 85. So we'll probably get a better buy opportunity if that happens. Um, but I also just like to get into these names when they're starting to shift to the upside. So you can see on these lower time frame charts that it's breaking down. We have volume breakdown here, volume breakdown here. So I'm just gonna wait on it. But yeah, I like this. I like the setup. IREN is the weekly squeeze firing to the downside. I don't think it's firing to the downside. It's just yes, it has downward momentum for sure. Um, but the thing about the squeeze is very nuanced, and when the squeeze looks like this in a bullish trend, it's actually one of my favorite squeezes because a lot of the time what will happen is it turns into a slingshot squeeze. So, when you have a ticker like this, it's pulling back and the momentum is going lower, that gives you a pullback buy instead of, the ticker being all the way up here. So, it's one of those things where it's like, do we know the squeeze is gonna fire to the long side? Well, no, we don't know that. But in looking at the overall trend, the vast majority of the time, the squeeze is going to fire in the direction of the trend, and that trend is up. So, what I like to do is I like to watch for a momentum shift. So you see how these bars are red? Typically, what will happen is a yellow bar will populate and then maybe another yellow bar, and then it will slingshot to the upside. Now, if I'm totally wrong and there's no momentum shift that comes in that case, I just wouldn't buy it because I get in when the momentum shifts. Does that make sense? So that's what I'm saying. I like the setup, but I would rather wait. Yes, sometimes the squeezes are going to fire to the downside. I can give you an example actually in Microsoft because this one, um, this one has not looked very good, admittedly. Microsoft is one of those that this weekly squeeze has only fired to the downside during bear markets on Microsoft for like the last 20 years. So, there was this weekly squeeze right here in 2022. And I remember losing money on this one because I was doing the exact same thing that I described, where, it's sitting right here and the momentum shifting lower and it's like, ooh, is it gonna shift to the upside? And do you see how it's red and then it shifts to yellow and it looks like it's gonna slingshot higher, but then it just turned around and reversed and rolled over and died. That is going to happen sometimes. That's kind of just, you pay to play. But what you're looking for is you're looking for it to pull back and then slingshot and rip higher. So in this example right here, here was another weekly squeeze right here. So you can see that at this point, it was in a squeeze. the momentum shifted lower, but then do you see how it goes from red to yellow? And then right here was the big volume shift. The volume came in and it just explodes to the upside. That's what I'm going for. So, and then here's another one. You see how the price pulled back and you see how there were green dots. So there's no squeeze when they're green dots. The white dot and the red dot is the squeeze. So the squeeze appears, the momentum is red. So the momentum's negative and you're thinking, "Oh man, is it going to fire to the downside?" Well, no, because it's a bullish stock and a bullish trend, and then what happens is, do you see how it just slingshots that direction? So the momentum pulls back, perfect buy opportunity, and then the volume just explodes to the upside. So that's what I'm going for. Microsoft actually, with this most recent weekly squeeze, has been pretty dicey. You can see this last one did actually fire to the downside. Um, there was there were white dots or red dots. It was in the squeeze, in the squeeze, in the squeeze, in the squeeze. And I was like, oh man, there's no way this one's gonna fire to the downside. And it did. So do you see how the white and red dots shift to green? When it's green, that's when the squeeze fires. So this last weekly squeeze did fire to the downside. It reversed. Now this one right here, you can see that there's green dots, so no squeeze. White dots start the squeeze. Orange dots, red dots, white dots. So we're still in the squeeze on Microsoft, but do you see how now it's starting to shift higher? So ideally, with this one, it turns into a slingshot squeeze to the upside, but I will say, admittedly, it doesn't look as good as it used to as it used to look, because you have had some weekly squeezes fired to the downside. Yeah, so does that make sense? So you'll wait until you have a yellow squeeze as long as the volume will stay above average. So it's just the squeeze is just such a nuanced thing. I have people all the time sending me emails like, "Hey, can you make a trading bot for us?" And it's like, I have no idea how I would ever do that, because it's just one of these things where it's like you just have to spend time and effort, studying it and trying to figure out what patterns look best. And it's not one of those things where you can say, "Oh, it's exactly 6 dots and then it turns yellow and then it's the overall pattern and how it plays out." So, with this one, for example, and this is also why I really like buying long-term shares of stock, because it just doesn't really matter as much with the entry on the weekly chart time frame. So with IREN, for example, this is one that I was going to start adding more of to my portfolio. Right now, you're 1, 2, 3, 4 dots into the squeeze. In this case, if I was just going to buy long-term shares, it's down 8% today. Boom. I like buying stocks when they're down, when I'm buying long-term shares. Um, some of the better pullback buy opportunities would be like down into 44 at the 21 EMA. I mean, if you got a better pullback down into 40 at the 34 EMA, I think those would still be good buy entry points for buying long-term shares. So for long-term shares, I don't necessarily wait until the volume is coming in on the buy side and the momentum has shifted yellow. Just because when you're buying long-term shares of stock, like the entire point is to buy it when it's down. But when you're trading options, you really need to time things well. So that's why with options trading, yes, I usually buy it on the high volume breakouts. Does that make sense? So for IREN, for example, I would be fine buying shares of it right now. Could I buy more at 40? Yeah, I would buy more at 40. Could I buy more at 35? Maybe that would be a little bit lower than I would like to see it go, but it would still be up above support. And then as far as options trading is concerned, I do not ever come in and buy options when the ticker is down like 7, 8%, because when it does that, it's highly likely to get hammered again tomorrow. So I don't ever buy options when a stock is down this much. I pretty much always wait until the incoming volume for it to hook to the upside so that I can jump on it and ride the momentum, because options are very short-term based. And because the premium is going to expand once you have a bunch of buyers coming in and the stock is popping. So it's just basically two different strategies. I don't know if that makes sense. But if you're looking at this one for a short-term options trade, I think at this point the move has pretty much already happened, because you had the breakout above the 50 simple, which was a perfect high volume breakout right there. I love buying options on a breakout like that. And then you had many days in a row where the ticker went higher. At this point, it's had this huge move and it's just pulling back. So I don't really think that I can do anything with it in the options market at this time. I'd probably wait, another day or two for this move to settle down. Um, but I would like to buy the shares in this name, and earnings could definitely be a major catalyst for the name. The question is up or down. So if you look at the earnings hot zone, you can see that over the last 8 quarters, they've only beat estimates twice and they've missed estimates 6 times. So it becomes a question of, okay, do you want to buy the shares before earnings and, ideally they have a good earnings report and it goes higher? Or would you rather just wait and see if it's another quarter where they miss earnings and you can buy it at a cheaper price? Those are the questions you just have to think about yourself. For me, if I'm buying long-term shares, it doesn't really matter to me if it's at 52 or 45. I mean, yeah, I know there's a difference obviously, but it's just not going to matter to me in the 5 years later. So, I'm not trying to pinpoint it exactly precisely. Um, if you're looking at the way that this ticker moves after earnings, you can see that last quarter it gapped down 2.9%. So not a great reaction, especially because it continued falling after the fact. But the quarter before that, I mean, it had this massive move. So when I'm coming in and buying shares of a stock before earnings, I just want to look at the past earnings moves and see if I could potentially capture something like that, because I mean, how awesome is that, right? So if you look at like NBIS, for example, last quarter it did initially gap up, but then it gave back the move. The quarter before that, it just had this massive move. And then before that, it was just kind of back and forth. So, anyways, hope that makes sense. Danielle, can you look at Netflix? So this one is just a disaster. This is what I call the 1 tequila, 2 tequila, 3 tequila floor setup, because you essentially had a stock that was doing really well, right? Like this was one of these stocks that every single quarter I just sold, put credit spreads on it, sold, put credit spreads. Like it was so easy. You could do it with your eyes closed. And then there's always going to be a time where something changes. And I remember I did sell spreads that quarter and it didn't work. And I was like, oh, whatever, it's one time it didn't work. But that was the beginning of something bigger. So that was the first tequila. It's like, oh, you have one shot and you don't really feel that great, but there's not a disaster happening yet. Second shot comes and it's like, ooh, that was probably a little too much. Break down below the 200 simple, things are getting worse for you. And then with the third one, it's like you just, roll over and die basically. So that's what this is. This is the number one setup that I look for during earnings, because I call it earnings destruction. And basically, if a stock has 3 bad reactions in a row, like it makes it really difficult for it to recover from. So there's no way I'm going to buy Netflix here, even though I like to stream Netflix like every day. But yeah, no, I'm not going to buy it because it's just so hard. It's very, very hard for a ticker to recover from this kind of destruction, and it can keep going lower. Can we look at Microsoft? So, Microsoft is one that used to be extremely consistent, extremely easy to trade. I feel like the way that the Magnificent Seven stocks have reacted over the course of I would say the last year and a half, have made them more unique for each ticker. If you look at Microsoft, for example, yeah, Netflix has been dead money ever since the split. Yes, totally agree about that. So if you look at Microsoft, This used to be a stock that it would always stay within like a 2% range up or down, and it was really easy to just come in and sell neutral iron condors and, bet on it staying in the same range. But that just has not been the case lately. Last year we had 2 massive moves, 8.2%, 9.1%. Those were both big moves to the upside, which was very unique for this name. But what was worse about this last 8.2% move was that after that move occurred, that was the high. So it put in this high, that high has been resistance. It tried to get back there, was not able to get through it. It's a bit of a double top there. And then last quarter, after it broke through the 50 simple, the 100 simple, and then the 200 simple to the downside, like this stock, it's so sad to say, but like it's in a bearish trend going into earnings after it just had a daily squeeze fire to the downside and a weekly squeeze almost fire to the downside. So I think that this is a big canary in the coal mine for the NASDAQ this week, because Microsoft is, it's really important for the NASDAQ overall. Um, and it's breaking down. So if you look at where it's trading right now, you're trading at 472. You have a $22 expected move. This thing has got to get up above $500 or it's going to continue to weigh heavily on the NASDAQ and just tech in general. So my question here is it possible for this ticker to get above $500 over earnings? As of right now, it's pretty unlikely, but today is only Monday and this earnings report isn't until Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday. So, I mean, if we could at least get up above 485, that would, that would make a lot of progress in breaking out up above these areas right here because we just have got to get up above resistance so that this thing can keep going. Microsoft is one of my top portfolio holdings. I really like the company. I think they're doing really well overall. I think that the moves haven't been as reflective as they possibly should be. Just because if you look at the actual EPS numbers, what you will see is that they're beating their EPS estimates. So I mean, you have 8 out of 8 quarters where they've beat estimates, but yet only 3 of those quarters they've traded higher. So this is one of those unique cases where I can say, "Hey guys, like I love Microsoft. Yeah, they're probably going to beat earnings, but guess what? They're going into earnings in a bearish downtrend and with a market maker move of $22, is it really going to be enough to get it up above resistance to correct this trend? I mean, they're going to have a move like this or move like this for this thing to get better. So, yes, I agree. There's probably a lot of open interest in the calls at the 500 and the 510 strike price. Um, I don't know. I just think this one's the biggest canary in the coal mine. So, while I would love to be aggressively bullish on Microsoft, I think there's a lot of reasons to be cautious about it because just look at how many times they've beat earnings and still gap down 4%, you know? So I think this one is problematic coming up. I'll decide on Wednesday what kind of earnings trade I'm going to make on it. Right here and now, it's way too close to earnings to make any kind of directional trade. And then also, I don't make my earnings trades until the day of the earnings report. So that's going to be on Wednesday. But that one's not looking very good. Then you get to Meta. So the problem with this one is same thing. You're coming into earnings in a bearish downtrend, short-term bearish downtrend, but you're in a downtrend. You're underneath the 200 simple, you're underneath the 100 simple. You haven't even been able to try to fill this gap right here. So, do you see this big gap that occurred after earnings last quarter? That is no good. That is the first tequila. So, now you're at the second earnings report after this big destructive move last quarter. So this is like the make or break moment with Meta. This thing has got to get up above the $680 price, and it has got to work on filling this gap, or again, it's just going to drag the Nasdaq lower. So this one is pretty variable. I don't trade this one with a specific strategy every quarter. A lot of these stocks, I just do the same thing every quarter. But this one is much more unique because it doesn't have consistent moves. So last quarter it was down percent. The quarter before that it was up 11%. Quarter before that it was up 7%, up 3%, down 1%, up 9%, down 14%, up 16%. So, because the moves are so variable, you can't really just say, "Oh, I'm gonna sell a put credit spread," or, and do the same thing every quarter. This one is not a good candidate for selling a neutral iron fly because it's had these massive moves. So, I don't wanna make a neutral trade on it. So, the only thing left to do is to say, "Okay, do I wanna make a directional trade?" Normally, with something like this that has a lot of movement, um I will consider placing some out of the money butterflies. So, for example, right now the market maker expected move is $45. You're trading at 674. So, you just want to add that on to whatever the current price is, and then you can multiply it by 1.5 too, to get like a 1.5x move. So I may end up doing like a bullish butterfly at 750 and then a bearish butterfly at 600, but I'm going to want to see what this is trading at on Wednesday before I make a final determination. But what I'm thinking right now is this is a pretty volatile stock, and I feel like it may be a good plan to have a bearish butterfly down at the $600 strike price because that's going to be a high open interest value. It's also where you have critical support. You have that key psychological value. You can see that's where the stock has fallen to multiple other times. So there's a lot of different reasons to use that $600 strike price. And then the 750, I don't know how likely it is for that to hit after last quarter, but this stock it does pretty well over earnings. Last quarter I feel like it was a little bit of a unique situation. I think it was a big tax payment or something that they had. So, overall, I am still bullish Meta. I'm still holding my long-term shares. I still like the ticker. I like the stock. I finally caved and got my 12-year-old the what's that? The Meta Quest. The parental controls on it are pretty good, I would say. Um, and when you're looking at, what that means for Meta in the future, I don't really know, but it has at least provided the benefit to me where I have the kid off of the couch playing video games instead of on the couch playing video games. So, I don't know. I guess the MetaQuest for me was the number one most begged for item that I ended up getting for Christmas, so I don't know if that's gonna have an impact on this stock or not, but CLS has earnings 128. Hey, Danielle, I was confused on the video since it says 123. Oh, sorry. I switched my sessions today. That's probably just a typo, as today is the, 26th. All right. So if I had any questions that I missed, let me know again, and I'll make sure I go back. Sometimes, if you asked a question in the beginning of the session and it scrolled away from me, how do you get into the trading room? Check out the link in the chat that I just posted. Okay, Cipher, please. Cipher trade. Yes, yes, yes. Let's look at that one. All right. So I don't like the way a lot of these tickers are moving today. But with Cipher, I I think it's still all right because it's holding up above the 100 simple. We're just now entering the earnings hot zone time frame. So, you know, today is the very first day of that 21-day run into earnings. The earnings stats say that we have an average of a 10% move during that pre-earnings time frame. So, and you have a situation where last quarter it was up 23%. So I think for all of those reasons, I'm still going to hold on to it. My trade is down right now. I was planning on adding some more long calls to hopefully like dollar cost average to the upside. If this keeps breaking down, then obviously that's not going to be the best plan. But we do have some support down into about, I would say 1475 and down into 15 and 16. So I'm just gonna keep holding on to this one. I still like it. I feel like these stocks today are just very, very volatile, and this is very typical of what we see during earnings season. So when you have these names that are just been absolutely, on fire, they're the hot names, they're the short squeeze names, and then you get into Magnificent Seven earnings week, people get nervous, they want to take profits, they want to get out of some of these more aggressive names. Um, so I don't think that it's unusual for the stocks like IREN and CIFR to be down today going into earnings season. So ideally what happens so earnings season can go like one of two ways basically. Earnings can come out, earnings can be amazing and all the buying starts happening and the volume comes back in, and then the stocks like IREN and CIFR, they just explode to the upside, and that's when we obviously want to buy long calls on them, right? But the other situation can occur, which is when you have Magnificent Seven stocks report earnings and they just get absolutely clobbered. And then in that case, the entire market pulls back. So that's why I'm extremely light right now. All I have is Cipher and then I have IBIT. IBIT is not going to work out for me. I got into this as it was breaking out on high volume and it just completely reversed. So that one at this point, I doubt it's going to reverse and come through. But Bitcoin is holding on critical support right here at the 85,000 price point. So it's still in a squeeze. It's still holding support. I'm just going to hold it at this point and maybe I'll add to it, but my IBIT position is already almost at a max loss. So it doesn't really matter for me to get out at this point. The big news over the weekend was gold and silver. So gold is just absolutely exploding to the upside. Every single time it gets through another area of resistance, it just keeps going. So when you're looking at, where could it go next? It's just crazy because it's met targets at 4,600, 4,800, 5,000. Once it broke through 5,000, just kept going. I would definitely not be buying this here. This is the point where if you already had it, you should be offloading it to other people. I'm definitely not going to offload any of my physical metals though. I'm just talking about if you were in a trade. So I was reading all over the internet this weekend and people were like trying to sell their gold bars and silver bars and stuff and like having trouble selling them, which is crazy. Because I was also looking at, how can I buy copper? Because that one looks like it's ready to start taking off. And like every online broker I went to was just almost completely sold out of everything. So this is definitely a big supply and demand squeeze. I think at this point, unless you already have the physical silver or physical gold, I don't think there's too much to do with it at these levels. But that's why with stuff like this, I do like to just like dollar cost average over time and buy them. I sold all of my gold and silver months ago and was happy with the price I got. Now, not so much. Yeah, it happens. You took profits across the board in precious metals. Sorry, what did you say about Bitcoin? Bitcoin is in a Bitcoin's in a big squeeze. I mean, I think Bitcoin's gonna keep going to the upside. I mean, it doesn't look perfect, okay? It's in a downtrend, right? Like, and it had a failed breakout right here. But if it can hold 85, it can still fire to the upside. If if it breaks 85 on a high volume flush and it, you know, squeezes to the downside, then no. So for those of you that are on the live stream, do I share my indicators? Yes, I share this exact grid in the Simpler trading room for all of the members. The only thing that's not on the shared grid is the Squeeze Pro, because that one is John's tool. But my tools, the candles, and the Turbo VZO, and then just this entire custom grid, yes, I share that in the trading room. And then if you look at the link that I posted too, in the chat, if you sign up using that link, you get access to the grid. You were contemplating buying silver at 50, it's now doubled. You know what's crazy is like I like to buy those for Christmas presents and stuff, and I got some silver coins for Christmas for my husband and my 12-year-old, and they were at like $65, something like that. I like buying stuff like this for presents because it just feels like you're not, wasting money. Here, see, I bought them over Thanksgiving. So, yeah, like $50, $60. It's like, oh, that's a nice present. So, if anybody needs any gifting ideas, buy people in your life silver coins. The entire metal space has big outside reversal today on huge volume. Yeah, I mean, so this is my short squeeze watch list that I trade from all the time. And I'll tell you guys that I don't love all of the red that I'm seeing on here. This is typically when I'm looking at this highly volatile short squeeze watch list and I see that across the board there's like a -5%, -6%, -7%, 12%. It's not really good. Just because these kinds of names, people start selling them hard when they get nervous. So I will say that going into earnings week, this isn't exactly what I like to see, but also doesn't mean that things aren't going to explode afterwards. It could just be pre-earnings jitters, and then earnings comes out and everything's rocking and rolling again. Or conversely, it could be the start of something larger to the downside, but we're not going to know the answer to that until Thursday or Friday. So that's why I really only have one trade on right here. So, anyways, as far as the rest of these go right now, I do not really consider entries on the short squeeze when tickers like this are down like this. The ones that are up, CRWV, RBRK, TEM, ODD, HEMS, you really need them to be up a little bit more than that, but we can go ahead and look at them. All right. So with CRWV, this is one that got pretty hammered before earnings last quarter. It's trying to break out again. So it's not fully ready because you can see the way that it came up to this 200 simple and it hit it and it failed right there on high volume. So not 100% perfect. I would like to see it, break out and keep going to the upside. So this is one that it was on my radar today for a potential entry, but I'm going to need some more confirmation than this. So I'm going to wait and see what happens on this one tomorrow. TEM, this is also one that I was considering for an entry because this one has earnings coming up. It has a daily squeeze. It's underneath all of this area of resistance though. And then on the weekly chart, it's one of those things where it's like it's hovering on this 50 simple right here. And yes, the momentum from the squeeze is red, but it could very easily flip higher and shift to the upside and explode. So this is one that's on my list um, of tickers that I want to buy the long-term shares, especially because if you look at the EPS numbers, what you want is you want something that is continually doing better every quarter. So, for example, this quarter, they were estimated to lose $3.28 and they only lost 63. That's much better than expected, right? This quarter, they were estimated to lose 39 cents. They lost 46. Not really great because, they lost more than was suspected. This quarter right here, they were estimated to lose 30 cents and they only lost 18. So that was better than expected. And then you can also see that the EPS numbers are improving quarter over quarter. So those are different criteria that I like to see as far as buying long-term shares of stock. Oh, and Pelosi bought it. All right. If Pelosi bought it, let's go. I love myself a Pelosi trade. So, and then what you really want with something like this is once it goes profitable, that is where you can have a massive earnings short squeeze. So the sticker also has short float. Last quarter, they only lost 11 cents. So, are they going to be profitable this quarter? I mean, I don't know. But that's what I look for with stocks like this. And for something that's only $67, I mean, I'll buy it. The long term target is at 120, then 130. I mean, that's a double. So, I like it. For an options trade for us right here, right now, I don't love it just because you can see how it's underneath all of this resistance. I personally prefer to get into my options trades when you get a high volume breakout. So it's not fully ready for me. Let's say tomorrow, let's say if it got up above 70, then that would be better for me for an entry. Even though the price of the stock would be higher, it would show some follow through. Danielle, where do you see short flow on your charts? I do not have it on my charts. I have 5 monitors that I'm working with here, and I have this up on another monitor. So when I'm in the room, I can only share one monitor at a time. But this is just a free website that I use for the short float. 5 monitors, rookie numbers. And then we have a 19% short float in this ticker. Is the pending tariff news having an effect? There's so much news this week. There's the Fed tariff news. Oh yeah, all of that has an impact. Did you trade SLV? I don't usually trade SLV. I like to buy the coins and the bars and all that kind of stuff. I don't usually trade the metals. But if I was going to do it, I would use the ETFs. All right, let me see. Any thoughts on NVIDIA? Yes, let's look at NVIDIA, and then we have 11 more minutes. Okay, so I think this one is getting ready to break out. I'm a long-term bull, and I mean, I can trade the market either way. Like if the market does get destroyed in February, like I can short it too. That's fine. But I'm a long-term bull, and like I love trading these upside breakouts. And I think, knock on wood, NVIDIA is getting ready for another big move. So you have a weekly squeeze setting up. I don't love that the squeeze is orange. Those orange squeezes, those can be the ones that kind of kick you in the teeth and fire to the downside. You can see that the last weekly squeeze that NVIDIA had, it had this one orange dot, and that was the very beginning of when it just exploded to the downside, which was no good, but it was also a buying opportunity. So I'm still bullish on NVIDIA. I think that the consolidation that has occurred since all the way back in November is going to break out and there's going to be a huge move. And I think that move is going to be into 225, 240. I hope I'm not wrong. But if we do end up getting a move like this, I think that would just be another buying opportunity. You know, if you got this same move right here, that would bring you down into like 160. CRWV would be down 10% without that news. The whole sector, it's part of it is getting trashed. Yeah, I mean, you guys, I just think this is a very, very normal. I think this is normal price action for Mag 7 earnings week. So I'm really not concerned about it yet. I think there's going to be a lot of volatility and a lot of movement and a lot of opportunities. And Monday is just all about overviewing everything, seeing what tickers you want to jump on if and when things move, and then trying to decide, which earnings tickers you want to trade. And if you don't want to trade them, you just need to be aware of when they're happening because that's what's going to cause volatility in the market. So I can go ahead and post the dates and my watch list in the chat. Let's see, Tuesday. And then let's see, Wednesday. Wednesday is really the big day. So Tuesday is just gonna kind of be the it's just gonna be the beginning, guys. Because on Tuesday we have Boeing. Let's look at some of those. I know you wanted to do AAL, but I never have anything good on that stock. So the reason why I don't usually trade this one is because it's just all over the place. Like it's up and then it's down, but then the ranges aren't consistent either. If something is half the time up, half the time down, you can at least sell neutral iron flies. In this case, 5%, 7%, 1%, 7%. Like it's just do not trade. I don't want to touch it. Boeing. So I feel like this one is very unique. Because you're in a situation where Boeing has just been just so much bad news. Oh man. Nice big candle coming through here. I think people are just nervous for this week, to be honest. So Boeing has had so many problems, but you can see that it's up, it's up, it's up, it's up, it's up, it's up, it's up. So it's like you can't really bet against it. But then this quarter, I would never want to go long something that had traded from 176 to 254, especially when it's Boeing and it's, just had so many problems. So I'll tell you with Boeing, yes, you can see that it has done well after earnings for the most part, but it's had way too big of a rally for me to make a bullish trade on it right here and now. So I don't want to do that one. Then you have GM. GM, I think the squeeze on it looks really good. You have a pullback to the 50 simple. I like that it has a breakaway gap from last quarter. But half the time it's up, half the time it's down. I feel like if you really wanted to, you could come in and sell some put credit spreads. But it's also just not something that when I'm trading earnings, I want to look at a chart and I want to see that there's a consistent pattern that's occurring quarter over quarter over quarter. And if it doesn't have a consistent pattern that's occurring, then that just means that it's not very reliable and I don't want to waste money trading it. So NOC, this one, you can see that it's traded lower most of the time, yet it's on highs. So that's something actually looks pretty good for like a call credit spread. UPS. Man, sell off. John, I love the smell of puking into the clothes. Yeah, I mean, I think that this is going to be a dicey week, guys. UPS was like getting absolutely slaughtered and then it finally turned around last quarter. So I don't really want to bet. I don't really want to make a bullish bet on that one given the longer term trend. United Healthcare, same thing, getting totally slaughtered and then it finally turned around. I think the best plan for earnings for tomorrow is to just wait and see what happens tomorrow morning and see what kind of moves we get because a lot of these tickers that I just looked at, I mean, most of them don't have very favorable bullish patterns. So what will happen in that case is one of two things. Most of these stocks that already didn't look good going into earnings sell off after earnings and then the market gets more spooked. Or the second scenario is most of them surprise, which I kind of doubt that'll happen, but it could. So I think it's better and more effective to wait until tomorrow to do any other swing trades or anything else because these earnings trades just don't really look they don't look like they have a good edge. Damn, what is this? Boom. Nervous. Okay, I had it zoomed in. It's not that bad. 10 points. Just kidding, guys. There's no disaster here. Okay, 3 more minutes. I think UPS has to pay other providers since the air crash. Oh no. Yeah, anything like that that comes up, it's never helpful. All right, so I think I looked at all of them for tomorrow morning. Oh wait, SYF was one last one left. No pattern there either. All right, this one's on the second tequila. See that? Look at that. Nice bullish trend. Just destroyed. Too much tequila. It's the second chance. Can we do it? We'll see. See LOGI. Jensen was on CNBC announcement of 2 billion invested in CRWV could go long nicely on the news. Yeah, anytime you get a nice news related catalyst like that, it's really helpful. I just want to see some follow through before I'd buy it again. This one's not looking very good. Most of these tickers that are reporting tomorrow do not look very good going into earnings. Yeah, I mean CRWV like it's got to get up above today's high. So expect a bear day. When you have the confluence of factors that I'm seeing, which is you have a bunch of companies that are reporting that don't look very favorable going into reports, plus you have the jitteriness which again, I was zoomed in, so that looked a lot worse than it actually is. But you get the little sell off right at the end of the day. I think one of the biggest signs that people are nervous in the market is all these short squeeze names getting hammered, because these are the tickers that people come in and buy when they are when it's Monday morning and the market finally opens and you're coming in, you're like, "Oh, what can I buy, guys?" That's when these kind of stocks are rocking and rolling. But when you log in and you can see just all of these really aggressive and volatile names are getting pretty hammered today, it's definitely a warning sign. It's a warning sign, it's not like, "Oh, hey, let's bail on everything we have," kind of thing. It's just one of those things where it's like, "Ooh, market participants are kind of nervous going into earnings." So, that's why we just need to get through tomorrow, get through Tuesday. Um and then also Wednesday is going to be the big big day, but it's going to be Thursday where we will see the results, because Meta is going to report on Wednesday after the close. Microsoft is going to report on Wednesday after the close. Tesla, we didn't even talk about Tesla. I can't wait till I can get one of those robots. For some reason, my kids are terrified of robots. I tried to tell Leo, like, okay, but if we get a robot, that means that we don't have to do dishes anymore. Because I thought surely that was going to be the key sell for me. But he's like terrified. He's like, if you get a robot, I'm moving in with grandma and grandpa. What? Paper plates. Show your kids Spaceballs, they'll get over it. Still getting a sell off here. I mean, I think it'd be pretty cool to have a robot. I have 3 acres here, but I have also 3 kids and 3 dogs, and, I have a job and all of that, so it's not like I have a lot of extra time on my hands. So I would really like to get like bees and like little Highland mini cows and, you know, all the things, but I'm only one person. I have it all, the robot to manage them all. Yeah, I mean, can you pay the robot to manage the beehives is what I want to know. I mean, actually, you don't have to pay the robot. What am I saying? Train the robot to manage the beehives. Well, yeah, but that's the thing is that, yeah, of course you can hire someone to do all these things, but that costs money. But if you could just buy the robot one time and train the robot to do all of it, that's the entire point that Tesla has here with the robots, right? Because once people figure out that they don't have to hire somebody to do their lawn or to, whatever, do the dishes, clean the house, like you just buy the robot one time instead of having to pay people to do all this stuff. And by the way, I don't pay people to do all this stuff. I do everything myself. In case anyone's wondering. With my 12-year-old. He's my helper. But I'm just saying, like, this is why the Tesla Optimus robot is just going to be a huge, huge thing, because people everywhere pay other people to do tasks that can be automated using robots. So I don't think that I don't think that this quarter is gonna be huge as far as, Tesla and Optimus is concerned, but they are supposed to be launching this year. So, I don't know, I think at some point later on this year, the Optimus robots are gonna show up on the Tesla earnings report. So, as far as this quarter is concerned, I mean, it doesn't look that great going into earnings this quarter. Just last quarter, it was down 4.3%, and the quarter before that, it was down 6.8%. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, I like Tesla, I like it long term. I definitely want a robot. I would rather buy a robot and train it to do all these things and like have to, spend my entire weekend cleaning, which is currently what I do now as a mother with 3 small children. And I would like some of my moments of my life back. But I think that's the point long term with Tesla shares, which is why I continue to be a very long-term Tesla bull. And if you look at the Tesla weekly squeeze, it looks to me like that weekly squeeze is going to fire to the upside and it's going to take us up into the $600 price. So I think even though Tesla's already rallied so much this year, I think that it can still go higher up into that $600 price point. So all those people will be losing their jobs then. Absolutely, AI is taking over jobs. 100% for sure. I mean, I use AI for literally everything. I feel like I have learned so much, especially like for medical stuff. I mean, you can upload, lab reports, you can upload um any kind of scan or anything like that into AI. There's no more of this like waiting for 3 days for a my chart from your doctor. Like no, just use AI, upload it into there, ask them. I used AI 2 weeks ago to write a contract for me. I was like, "Hey, this is exactly what I want it to say, like, add this, change this, make sure it's right in this state." Like, you can literally replace pretty much anything with AI except for, like, physical people. I mean, I use it for my research now. Like, I taught it my trading strategies, and I taught it how to find different picks that fit my trading strategies. Elon says you won't have a live GP in 4 years. I mean, I don't see why you would. It's so annoying having to, like, wait for responses from people when you can get a response from AI in 30 seconds. Tomorrow will be a bear day. I never try to predict what tomorrow is going to be. I try to wake up and see what it is the market will give me. So, I can tell you as of right now, it's not looking that promising, but it doesn't matter because the overnight gap, if earnings in the morning are really bullish and really strong, this very, very easily could change. If you look at these overnight gaps, like look at this. We were all the way down here and then look at where we opened. I mean, so I don't try to predict on Monday how we're going to open on Tuesday. I try to wake up and by the way, I'm going to be with you in the morning tomorrow for the open bright and early. So we'll just have to see and we'll trade it when we get there. I want a team of robots to remodel my house. Yes. Daniela, can you please review KOLD and Boyle? Sure, I can get those two for you before I go. So not a great trend on this one. It's kind of all over the place, but it has failed at the 100 simple, the 200 simple, and the 50 simple on high volume. So looks pretty bearish to me. However, you're hitting on some pretty critical support zones as well. So this is one of those things where it's been selling off on high volume and getting destroyed, but now it's at a key support level. So if it breaks that support level, I would expect it to continue getting destroyed, but that's also the spot that you may want to look for it to hold. But I personally would not buy something that looks like this, even if it did hold $16, because it just looks like a disaster. This one, BOIL. So that one's breaking out to the upside on a break up above the 50 simple on high volume. So this is a kind of reversal that I can get on board with. Because you can see that the volume is continually increasing over a course of several weeks, and it's increasing to the upside, and now it's breaking through resistance. I think you could probably at least trade it up into 38.5, but that's also the spot where you'd find a lot of resistance. So you just need to be careful once you hit that level of resistance. You're welcome. You're welcome. Texas bans Alibaba, Temu, and TP Link products from state employee devices. Government statement on Baba. Oh, what? So is that the sell-off? I do wonder how you handle exiting closing trades while you travel, Danielle. Okay, so I have to tell you that is my number one problem as a trader, and hopefully Henry has helped me with this. So we have this new like functionality in the chat room where you can hook up your account and it will like automatically send every order you make into the trading room. And Henry has been telling me about it, and I was pretty resistant to it because I was like, "Ooh, I don't really want something connected to my account." But Henry's pretty smart, and if he thinks it's a good idea, I'll do it. So I'm working on getting that set up. My biggest issue when I'm traveling is like I'm on set, I'm getting my makeup done, and it's like I can't just pull out my laptop and connect it to the internet and then log into the trading room and do all that stuff when I'm going back and forth between TV studios. So it is it is a big problem for me, but I'm getting that automatic order thing set up. I started it last week. It's a process, but basically I'll just be able to use my cell phone and I'll be able to enter and exit my orders, and I won't even have to log into the trading room, and all the orders will just be sent automatically to you guys. So I'm hoping that is going to be a big change for this year. And I will test it out when I go to New York next week. Gold and silver running. When do you think it's a good time to get in? Definitely not now. Now it's like the point where it's probably going to start rolling over soon. But we'll have to see how deep it pulls back. Yeah, API alerts. I'm going to start doing the API alerts. All right. Well, I have to get out of here. I'm going to make the videos tonight. So if you want a video recap of all this, you can check that out. Other than that, I hope everybody has a great day, and I'll see you at the open tomorrow. So if you guys want to get access to the trading room, you can go ahead and click on the link that I posted in the chat. Like I just mentioned, I'm going to be going to New York next week. So I'm not going to be in the trading room on my normal days on Wednesday and Friday, but I am going to be in the trading room on Monday and Tuesday. So if you want to check out this link in the chat, and then as far as the questions that you guys had about the tools, they should come with one of these options. I should know which option that is. Okay, so you see how it has bonus 2 trend strength turbo candles. These candles are called the trend strength turbo candles. And then let's see, bonus 3 turbo VZO and turbo VZO buy sell signals. That's going to be this one down here. And then it also populates these white arrows for high volume buys and sells. So it looks like with a quarterly membership, that is where you get the grid. And then with an annual membership, that's where you also get my free class on butterflies. Yeah, and so this grid is also just, it's also just shared in the trading room. So I share it all the time in the trading room. And it's this exact grid right here. And then, we have like scans and watch lists and all that kind of stuff that I share too, like this short squeeze watch list that I use. Yeah. Cool. What's going on with silver? It's just a massive, massive parabolic squeeze. I mean, it started taking off, and there's a lot of different reasons for it. You have inflation, you have assets being pumped up, you have a situation where in the beginning it was probably just a normal move, but then what happens is the more things like that get publicized, the more people jump onto them. And then you have another interesting piece of that, which is that there's a supply and demand issue as well. So since this is like a physical product, the higher it goes, there's only so much supply. Like you can go to any number of bullion places. Like I was mentioning earlier in the session that I do like to buy silver coins and stuff like that. You can go to any number of these websites, and what you will see is that it's like impossible to buy any of this stuff right now. So when you have a supply and demand issue as well, it just causes it to explode in price because people see it just going higher and higher and higher, and then it's a self-fulfilling prophecy because then more people just continue to come in and buy it, right? So high demand causing delays in processing, shipping, customer response times. I mean, you can try to come in here and buy anything, and it's like I was looking at this last night, and pretty much everything was either gone or you had to buy like a pre-sale. Look, you can't even get to the page. It's crashing. Look at that. Can't make this up. Your trading room is live before the market open to watch you trade. So our trading room is the first like 3 hours of the day and the last 2 hours of the day. We only are closed during lunch. So tomorrow I will start bright and early. I don't normally do the morning session, but there's a big ice storm in Texas. So I'm going to be doing the morning session tomorrow. I normally do the close. But you can go right here to simplertrading.com. And then if you click on the live trading rooms, the one that you can find me in is going to be right here, the master in the trade room. Sometimes we do have before the open sessions, but I never do it before the open session. I am in Washington State, and that is way too early in the morning for me. So, but I'll join in here for the open tomorrow. All right. So, hope all you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining me. I'll be doing the live stream again next Monday. Other than that, hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one.